we'll show the standings real quick. We'll see our top 8.
Show our top 8 here.
We have number 1 seeds. We had 2 6-0-2s. We knew they were drawing. AJ, Mike, and Brian Coval jumping in. Bosch and rolled. Shout out to our great streamers. Hank Zhang, he was the winner of that last feature match. Heads off to him. He seems very dialed in today, so keep your eye on him in the number 6 seed.
And this bracket, we'll show the left half of it, bottom.
Sure. We're going to be showing the left half of the bracket, starting with Brian Coval and Mike Tisi. Should be a really, really great afternoon to finish up of Magic.
Yeah,
and we're looking forward to seeing it.
We've got 5 archetypes here represented. So when it comes to, let's see, we have 4 of the Esper combo or control, and then there's 1 Oath, that's Coval. Doomsday is Michael Tisi. And then Mono Blue Shops is AJ Grasso. So everybody else is on
Luris, the Luris builds.
And they probably have balance too.
So only 1 crown jewel here, Shops, getting in there.
So we got 1 Doomsday, 1 Oath, 1 Jewel Shops, 5 Luris.
No, you got the 3 of the
No, and
Luris
1
decks
Nadu.
Are,
1
yeah,
Nadu,
there's
right?
1 Nadu. Don't forget the Nadu deck.
Oh,
One
can't
Nadu
forget
deck,
the
that should be
Nadu
fun to
deck.
see.
The new breakout card from Modern Horizons 3.
And I would say that 3 of the Esper combo decks are the Turbo Vault Key variants of the Oswald, more combo-oriented, whereas Adams was the classic Luris Saga controlling deck that was more trying to be on the controlling side of things.
Yeah.
So you played the Fiddlebender a little bit on stream. What's your take on that version of it, and why do you think it works well today?
I think the deck is just all around generically pretty strong, and it has avenues to beat every deck in the format. It's very much it's a combo deck, but it's also a toolbox deck. So like it's not as weak as a true Luris like PO combo deck would be against Null Rod because you have the access to Portable Hole from Oswald.
Which is huge. Yeah.
Really big. And I did notice that these players' builds had 3 Vexing Bauble, which is a card I tested and I didn't really like, but maybe I just hit the wrong matchups for it.
So no, it looks like, is it actually 0 Null Rods in the top 8?
In the main, there would be 0 in the main.
Yeah,
but there definitely are a couple
maybe a couple on the
side.
board, but not a lot of no rods. And like
Only 1 jewel.
my pick coming into this weekend was that it was going to be an ocean of no rods and baubles. So be prepared for that, which makes Doomsday make a ton of sense. Bug makes a tons of sense there, and taking your Luris deck but making it go a little wide. I actually would have thought the Necrogoyf would have done much better. Not Nethergoyf, I'm sorry. Would it looked like that card would have been sitting pretty.
We
But
got 1 of those in the top 8.
yeah, but not too many. Apparently the Fiddlebender was the way to go.
Yeah, surprising to me, but not overall too big of a surprise. This is going to be what, Brian Coval versus
Brian's on Oath.
Oath versus Doomsday.
Doomsday.
So that's a tough matchup for Oath.
Yeah.
Brian was on my team for the event. He basically picked Oath because it was his comfort pick from the last few.
Yeah, he's just
Weekend
used
and
to
those
it.
things.
He's just
Been
used
on the
to
deck for a
it.
while.
He acknowledged that there are going to be some matchups in this tournament that he's not really looking to face. Heavy combo is definitely one of them, but he's beaten a bunch of hard matchups today. He beat Doomsday, he beat Besiege Storm, he beat 4 Containment Priest,
wow.
Luris.
Jesus.
So it's been a really good day for Ryan.
Yeah, hats off to him.
Sometimes it's just good to be the champ, right?
Yeah,
Really a powerful magician.
very, very
Happy to
much.
see a Doomsday player in the top 8 too, though.
Yeah.
I thought Doomsday was a great choice for this event. I think it was.
I agree. I mean, it's a vintage event, and we're at 120 some odd players, so you're going to face a lot of diversity in it, and we're going to underground C.
Yeah, must be using especially.
Yeah. So, and variance plays a part in these matches.
Oh, of course.
So you're going to see it, but honestly, not what I would have expected out of the top 8. No white initiative. I would have guessed no Bazaars in the top 8. I didn't think Bazaar was going to do well
I
today.
didn't love Initiative, and I didn't love Bazaars at all. I wanted to play Dredge, and then Vexing Bauble came out.
You're
and
nuts. You're
that
done.
just is like
See
absolutely
ya.
coffin.
Every deck has 5 Wastelands, and now that every deck will have
Well, that's
like
the problem,
a zillion
right? The Wasteland
Bazaars.
and the baubles.
You're,
out there,
it's too much.
Yeah.
You're,
If we're gonna play Bazaar, I do think Dredge is the one to go for.
that was the only real choice. And
Oh,
Yep.
sweet.
Wow.
Turn 1 Necro.
oh, look at that.
Has a negation. Fishing Gokro. That's fine. The Doomsday player's not mad about that.
No, I think he might be happy about
I was
that.
like, cast my Doomsday later, and that eats that count.
That is the
I don't like resolving necro.
that is the backup 3-black spell in your deck. If that's a 3-black him to Torak, you're okay
That
with
was the
that.
secondary plan. That wasn't the primary plan.
Doomsday is usually you win the game. Necro is someone wins the
Yeah.
game.
We got a Ponder.
The newly unrestricted Ponder.
We learned that when somebody cast 2 of them on coverage, and it took us a minute to
Both
figure
learned
out what
that?
happened.
Fair.
We learned that today.
That's all right. I thought Fast Bond was unrestricted right after I won Vidin Champs back in the day, so I've been there before.
Everybody gets a little hazy, guys.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Ponder was a cool unrestriction that I don't think many people saw coming.
Oh, great unrestriction. I
But
think.
it made a lot of sense at the time. I'm still questioning because I do think that Doomsday is one of the stronger decks in the format, and giving it access to
4 Ponder, yeah.
8 really great
Yeah.
cantrips is a lot. Because the Doomsday deck used to play a lot of like weird one-ofs to fill in the gaps. They
Yeah.
were playing a Peaks or
Yeah,
there
Sleight
was
of
some-
Hand or.
Very marginal filler at best.
Yeah.
And so now the Doomsday list is really tight. There's almost like no flex slots in it.
But just
Doomsday-
powerful for sculpting your hand too, Ponder.
Damn.
But Doomsday is one of those decks where very difficult to pile. There's a lot of room for human error in that, especially over the course of a long tournament. And if you look at the results, especially for the leagues on Magic Online, you don't see a ton of Doomsday. You see some,
Unless you're
not a
Discover N,
ton
and
of
then
it.
you just
Yeah,
crush
well,
every
as-
tournament.
but if you
thing
take out
We did
Discover
just-
N,
no, we-
then the results for Doomsday could just go way down.
It's true. We did just see the results for Doomsday in leagues on Magic Online, and it's a below 50% win rate.
Yeah, it's not great.
But for challenges on Magic Online, where you have some more accomplished players,
You have much better players,
It's more
yeah.
like 60% win
It's
rate.
a
gotta be somewhere
horse of a
between
different
them.
color type
Well,
of
that's the
deck.
thing too, right? With leagues, you have people experimenting with decks, trying it out. So it is really interesting, that whole data project, to see it kind of all coming together now and being able to dig in those results.
So this looks like an end-step vamp from Coval. I assume if he has an orchard, then he's looking to try to deploy an orchard or a show and tell. But now, before things get too difficult, okay, maybe
show and tell, yeah.
Tinker.
Oh, Tinker,
Better.
here we go.
Actually,
All right.
I like this a lot.
Nope.
They're back. I thought
Yeah,
there might have been
that's a
force
no.
in Koval's hand, though.
It
I
looks like a
definitely see a
force.
force.
There's
Is there
a
a blue
force.
card?
Oh,
There's a
it's
blue
this
card.
call.
Wow, force.
Pitch the Ancestral.
Another one?
Does he have the answer?
Oh,
All right.
knocking the top of the deck. Let's see if
this
it's there.
resolves, it gets a Citadel,
Yep.
and it's usually winning.
Citadel is generally enough.
No, it's a misstep.
Oh, knocking the top of the deck again. Let's see if we can get the counter spell.
Even if it is, it goes down to 0 after, right? Maybe 1 card later. Nope.
All
That's a
right,
Citadel.
that's going to resolve.
Koval is hellbent.
Koval's Hellbent has a land drop to give on Citadel, which is very important.
That's huge, yeah.
This is one of the worst Citadel decks in the format. Not that there
Yeah.
are very many Citadel decks in the format anymore, but there's a lot of dead cards, a lot of cards that cost a lot of life. But any attracts that you hit is probably just
Yeah,
Well,
that's
and life's
just as
not
good
really
as
an
oathing
issue.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And life's not an
Life's
issue
an
against
if you like hit show and tell,
Yeah.
Lorien Reveal, Force of Will,
Yeah.
those kind of cards.
Yeah, agreed.
Flash is 2 mana or 2 life do nothing.
Sure. Does it resolve? Fair question.
Looks like he held priority, so maybe he could force his own flash if he needed to get rid of the next card down.
There's the land
There's the
drop.
land. So not great so far.
That's
Wow,
a good one.
Time walk's pretty good.
That's a good one.
Time walk's pretty good.
That
Okay.
is pretty good there.
We should be at 15, right?
Paid 4.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while to keep updating life after every cast.
Yeah, because it was the flash and then the time
So he's down to 12.
So the key here is seeing if the life total goes below the ability to cast Atraxa. So if
Sure.
you are at like 7 life or lower, then so this one's gonna be 3 life. 1 from the Citadel and 1 from Thoughtseize Resolving. If Thoughtseize resolves, because there is the mental misstep in hand, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep, there it
Koval
is.
can still take a turn off here because he does have a time walk turn.
Correct.
I mean, he's got to be protecting maybe a Doomsday if he thinks he can actually win next turn. All
Wow,
right.
DT,
DT.
wow.
So DT, I haven't looked exactly at Koval's list, but there was a top in our Oath list at one point. Not 100% sure if it's still in. We'll have to see.
At
If it
9
is,
life?
then I would consider a top because it's going to let you really filter here.
Well, don't forget, Brian still has that time walk turn, right? So you can draw a bunch of cards with the top, reset, then go to
So
the next
where you're
turn.
not casting
here's a question. So
Atraxa, then you have to show and tell another Atraxa, maybe?
Yeah.
The Doomsday deck doesn't have any reach. Does he use the Demonic Tutor to set up just getting an Atraxa on top of his library and going to 2 life?
Well, the Demonic Tutor will go into hand.
Yeah, but does
You
he
could
have
get
to
a
like set it up?
mystical, but the Vamp is already gone. Okay, looks like another Brainstorm on top.
That's just free. Like, all right, great.
Brainstorm is a nice one because then you could put the Atraxa back
Yeah,
on
you set it right on
top.
top.
You
Yeah.
can't know that when you shuffle after your DT.
No, you can't just hope and pray that it's there, right? Like,
Can.
So wait. So DT isn't Vamp and DT in one card? It doesn't work like that?
Only one of each, and both have been cast.
And there it is.
Atraxa, wow, with 9 life. Wow. Yeah, so that
There's the
should be
Yahtzee.
enough.
Yeah,
Obviously,
there's
we
the
get 10
Yahtzee.
cards to look at. Any force inside of these 10 cards, blue force, I should say, would be probably game sealing.
He's at 1.
There is a top.
time walk
Wow,
turn, though.
So what?
so Atrax is going to get to attack. He's going to
True.
need that
Yeah,
life
true.
back,
He's,
so,
he
yep.
he's got a turn in the bank.
What did Brian DT for if he didn't go for top? Because top is in this.
I
Ancestor,
think
maybe?
it's the last card in hand there.
Yeah, I wonder what it would be. And we've used time walk. Is there
Is that-
a Yogg will?
Was that a force? Maybe is.
Yeah,
I don't
probably
know what
maybe
that
some
was.
disruption of some kind of force or counterspell or something.
Well, the problem is it
He
might have got
took-
shuffled by
he
the
took
brainstorm.
Top over Lotus.
Yep. That's
Passed
free.
that off top.
That's whatever
We're
card
still
there
in
is
the
not
pre-time
free.
Yeah.
walk turn, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
this is still pre-time walk. And the thing is, Coval could have DT'd for the top, but then brainstorm was on top anyway.
Oh, that might have been.
So
the
it
case.
could have just been like, oh, I don't need the top yet, right? I can brainstorm.
You could have put
So
it
you-
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably what
Yeah.
happened then.
That could make sense. Yeah, that would make sense.
All right, so now we're on the time walk turn as our lands have untapped. We're going to be able to hit for 7.
And then just continue to go through the deck with Bolus of Citadel.
Yeah, gain another.
What cards are even
7
left
life.
in the deck that we care about? Just trying to
Just
find
counter. Just
forces.
counter spells.
He's just throwing them off the top.
Yeah.
So we can
Let's-
find out what
yeah.
he's protecting.
Looks like
Oh, it's just a ritual.
a 50% discount on Gataxian Probe.
So we're at least taking another Atraxa hit before going off. That doesn't look like a very good spot. Ancestral is the best draw for the Doomsday player.
And you got to hope that even what you hit off the Ancestral is like something
The
nutty.
Ancestral-
Yeah.
Ancestral into Doomsday, and also a Gush probably.
Yeah.
But like that's the strength of the
Yeah.
Doomsday deck. You have these powerful pieces. You could still win from this spot because I don't believe the Atraxa hit the force at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, there's a top in play and 8 life, and
Enough.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's.
Well, he
I would-
doesn't
I
have
would
five. Well, he
hope
can
half
only
the
do.
time.
He can do
6
no. He
life.
actually no. He can't do that because he needs 5 life for the force. He doesn't have 5 mana in play.
well, what if he just draws it with top and then
Yeah.
cast it, pitch cast from hand?
Oh, you can pitch cast it. Okay, that's true.
Looks like that was just another land.
Yeah, and a
so
quick pass,
We're gonna
so
go to
it's-
1, and then there's nothing left. after
Yeah.
that.
We are going to. Looks like we'll be
Brian
heading
can
to game
even end the
2.
game before another turn with something like an Oko, stand up a Mox, or even like
Lot
find
he
a
can
bunch
do.
of Mox in and activate your Citadel. All roads lead there. This was a very
Just in
good
case he needs the
Citadel.
oath.
Well, yeah, Citadel
Yeah,
just
there's been
blind
no-
off the top, just hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like
That's why you play the
these
card. I
Citadels
mean, that's.
in this deck could have led to a number
Yeah.
of pass the turns.
Well, and like you said earlier, right? Like this isn't the greatest Citadel deck in the format, right? Because you're playing a lot of lands. You got Oath. It's kind of you can run
And
into
Learn
some
to Build,
weird
other stuff.
combination of cards that
Show and
just
tells.
don't push you forward.
You know, it was funny to watch the Citadel get. It took a while where you'd play Citadel and a bot, and then it took, multiple years for it just to be like, these bots are kind of dumb. Let me just play Citadel and kill you.
Yeah.
This is not as efficient as I thought it was. Like the bot was just a crutch.
To be fair, around the time when that was first released, Shops was still really big, so the robot was actually better a lot
You
of the
needed
time
a
if you
robot.
didn't
Yeah.
have like the Harkles recall. I remember the first event that I was in
Even
that I
though-
won was the TMD event, and my tournament report is like, I played against Shops, I tinkered a robot. I played against Shops, I tinkered a robot. And now with less spheres in the format, no 4 chalice,
Very
no 4
few.
Trigger
Yeah.
sphere, all these
Well,
kind of things.
Even the
Citadel
shop,
gets
the
to
shops
love
deck is a
it.
blue deck. It's a jewel.
All decks are blue decks at the end of the day.
Yeah, pretty much.
You don't really. They took away all the other fun toys. You can't play Martello anymore. That's not gonna work.
So
Brian, huge getting game one in this matchup.
There we go.
In this matchup, that was a huge win for
tinker
Brian.
with tons of protection, and that is the game plan of the Oath deck.
Yeah.
The Oath deck is one of the least controlling, least amount of agency Oath decks I've ever played. Oath decks historically end up a lot of times on 2 creatures, you're playing a lot of cantrips, you're trying to play more of a control strategy. This Oath deck, Oath can tell, more of an A plus B combo deck. And very few ways to tie those things together. You draw the A and B and you cast it and hope it works.
Yeah, you hope you
You do the
resolve
thing
it
or
and
you
it gets
don't
there.
do the thing.
Yeah.
So it looks like, is it open deck list then for top 8?
Should be open deck list.
Can we, hey Jordan, can we skip to the game 2 or are they still going? Still going. Okay. So we cannot time walk through sideboarding.
So I want to open up the sideboard and see what Ryan has.
Roland
Because
knows how to do that. I don't.
I do know that.
Internet.
I did know that Brian was playing this deck, but I didn't have the specifics. So if you ever want to know what Brian is playing, you can go to his Patreon before any event.
that you can do.
Pay for the deck list.
Hey, capitalism supports us all, guys. There's no shame in that one.
I mean,
None and
if his deck list
zero.
is in the top 8 every tournament.
We'll be all right.
So historically, in this matchup, we would have Thoughtseizes in the sideboard if we felt that it was bad. But I saw Thoughtseizes in the main, which was something that Brian did, acknowledging the fact that Jewel might be the most played deck today. So there was a Null Rod in the main, there were Thoughtseizes in the main. These were concessions to try to make the Oath deck have better game plans against the combo decks that could be seen tonight.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people were kind of really setting up for, Jewel Shops to be the most popular deck in the format today, especially with, Vexing Bobble, seeing it as, okay, it's a fast combo deck and it picked up this new tool, so it's going to be kind of really popular. But, I mean, the sense I got from, kind of playing today and looking around, I thought it was a little underrepresented.
It was
out
less
there.
than I would think because
Yeah, definitely less Jewel today.
it was one of the go-to decks at a tournament weekend, so it's fresh on vintage players' minds, and it was
It crushed the top 8 at Eternal Weekend.
Yeah.
Finals was 2 Jewel decks.
and it's good online, very good online right now,
Yeah.
especially after Modern Horizons 3. Both
Oh, yeah.
challenges and leagues have great Jewel records.
Correct.
And it just seemed like one of the decks that immediately gained visible improvements from Modern Horizons 3.
Sure.
Vexing Bubble is one of them, but I would actually point the Sink into Stupor, the blue
Oh, yeah.
land
Huge
spell,
upgrade.
as the big upgrade.
Off of
inside
the other
Oh, we found
back
it.
face card.
So Oath. Okay, so Brian has 2 Thoughtseize main. That would typically be in your side to beat this kind of deck. So those are already in the main, leaving us with a negation, a trap, a negation, and a trap.
So not a ton of options.
No, so I would assume the Null Rod in the main comes out. I think there was Null Rod in the main will come out, and then one random card from somewhere. Maybe the Island. The Island will probably come
Yeah,
out.
I was
because
going to
the
say,
Island
you're
is-
not under pressure from Wastelands against
Yeah, if you're not
Doomsday
going to get
deck.
wastelanded,
Yeah.
you're fine.
So-
Totally fine.
It's one of the only decks in the format that doesn't
Honestly,
have
bringing
Wastelands.
in 2 cards and then having 2 Thoughtseize main, not terrible for the Oath deck, but still I would say the Doomsday is favored from this spot. From the Doomsday side, they probably are bringing in like a second negation, but might already have like most of you're pretty pre-boarded for this kind of matchup.
All right, we're scrolling through, looking at, seeing what is coming next.
See, okay, so there's one negation. You wouldn't want to bring in Shieldred or an opposition agent. I don't really particularly like Mindbreak Trap because a lot of Oath's combo turns are, Mox Land Oath, 2 spells,
Yeah.
second land, a lot of it are two spells.
And you're not sitting there waiting for like the Citadel line or something, like, right? It's
Like obviously there will be some times where a Mindbreak Trap will work on like a Mox show and tell hand,
Mox thing.
but
Sure.
I think in general
it's
your deck
too
is already
narrow, and you dilute your deck.
Yeah,
right?
your Doomsday deck
Yeah.
is already such a well-oiled machine. I would definitely bring in the negation. Is there one main? Okay, so there is one negation main in the second board. That's very common.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely huge though for Coval getting game 1, breaking serve against the Doomsday deck.
Getting a few more tools for the post-board games where
Is this a mulligan from the Doomsday player?
at least one.
Not where he wants to be.
The Doomsday deck.
Mulligan's okay.
Well, you have a lot of very keepable hands though, so I find you don't mulligan too much, just because a lot of your hands are just going to be lands and cantrips anyways.
Yeah,
and
you're
you
just
have to
sitting
build
there
your
like
game plan.
I
two or
would
three
ponder
lands,
is,
double
like,
ponder. You're like,
fine.
okay, I can figure it out,
works.
right? I can run into sculpt my hand what I need here.
That's the way that would work.
It looks like mulled a 5 here, putting 2 back.
Oof. Man, might be. There we go. Into pretty. Sure.
Yeah, it's a weird matchup for the Doomsday player because you do want to have a force.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the single force is enough to really just derail what Oath's doing. Here's the double Mox in hand though.
Well,
So if there was a mind break trap,
There it is.
pass the turn, play around
Nope.
mind break trap.
Nothing to play into.
yeah, Coval has Ancestral Recall, looks like.
Now, Ancestral Recall, obviously a very powerful card, but double faceted in the Doomsday matchup, where it sometimes is a lethal kill spell.
Yes, because a lot of times you do see the Doomsday player, they're casting Thassa's Oracle. There's only 2 or less cards in the deck, and you just be like, in response, I'm going to make you draw your deck and just, oh, there's nothing there, you lose.
And Doomsday doesn't really get to go around that. Both of their winning plays are with Thassa's Oracle, both Console and Doomsday.
Yep.
And so a lot of times you need to keep that in mind, like, can my opponent Ancestral targeting me? How do I respond to that?
Yep.
Do I have enough cards left in my library? Sometimes you build a pile that has a force in it, so when they Ancestral you get your force, and you counter your own Ancestral that you were going to cast, something crazy like that.
It is interesting because it's like, normally you're just like, all right, let me fire off my Ancestral Recall, but like versus Doomsday, you can be a little more patient with it and maybe try to pick a spot.
Especially with the amount of counter spells in Doomsday, with Flusterstorms,
Yep.
you gotta look for. And Brian has the open deck list, so he knows about the 2 negation. That's another card to play around. Okay, so we have a Dark Ritual happening, and we have a Doomsday happening. What is Brian's response?
I'm gonna have to roll out soon. Want a couple more of these?
So, depending on the number of forces in Brian's hand, there's a lot of
Where'd you get these?
play here in letting Doomsday resolve. This was a very classic line in older variants of Doomsday. A lot of the older players will tell you, if you have a couple counter spells, you can actually let Doomsday is not actually drawing any cards on its own. It's just a spell. So fight after the Doomsday. When you have an Ancestral Recall, you have additional power to fight after the Doomsday.
You have a bunch of different angles to really attack the Doomsday deck after a Doomsday, especially with like Ancestral Recall.
I couldn't tell if Brian had a force in hand. Because if there's a force and there's an Ancestral, this is so hard for the Doomsday player to build a pile. A lot of times, when you're building your Doomsday pile, you're thinking, what cards can they have, what cards can I beat, and what is reasonable for me to beat. And a lot of times, Ancestral comes last on the list of things that you can reasonably beat with your pile.
So Brian did have, it looks like he has a Tinker in hand, so he did play around potentially a Mind Break trap by not tinkering either turn 1
Also
there.
holding up and representing a Flusterstorm.
Yep.
Actually, probably no Flusterstorm. Open deck list, a little bit of an interesting curveball for events where you are losing some of the advantage of representing spells if you don't have them. But you may be gaining some advantage of representing spells if they're in your list, right? And you don't have them in your hand. So we have
Well, and
Doomsday pile.
that's exactly, I think, what we saw happen with Brian Coval, not firing off the Tinker because he saw the list having the Mind Break traps there, right?
I don't know what that card does. I wouldn't play around it. So Ryan gets to look at the entire exile zone of Michael after the Doomsday is resolved. We didn't get to see the 5 cards, so it'll be a surprise to us too. There's a Gush. From hand, already in hand, draws 2. That's down to 3 cards, so
I think
Ancestral right now
Brian's,
wouldn't be a kill.
I think Brian's waiting for the Ancestral line here.
Well, that's Black Lotus.
I believe so, yep.
The thing is, one more card has to go away before the Oracle is lethal.
That is a
That's the
recall,
Ancestral.
yep.
Okay. So he can go to 0. Brian will...
So you're sitting there thinking to yourself, like, did the Doomsday pile consist of protection in way of a Flusterstorm or Force of Will?
And Brian might know this because Brian has gone through the whole deck.
And that's what he's going to double check the deck, see potentially is there a Force or Flusterstorm also in this Doomsday pile or not.
Yeah, and it looks like with just the single piece of interaction being the lethal ancestral and the possibility of one, a counterspell in the 3 cards that Michael put, or a counterspell in hand, it's likely that this pile is going to work out.
So, I mean, a resolved Ancestral Recall targeting Michael from Brian Coval is lethal.
So there was a gush. Oh, interesting.
Oh,
Against
this
your
is
tutor.
spicy.
Without cracking the fetch line first. What does that mean? So, do we know if there's any floating mana right now? There was a gush with 2 tap lands, right? And then a Black Lotus that was...
I think there's 2 blue
2
floating.
blue floating. And an additional blue, probably for a Flusterstorm.
Yep.
Oh, we shortcutted? Okay, we must have been
Yep.
shortcutting. Don't have the mic, so hard to
Yep.
say.
I would assume, yeah, that was all shortcutted. There's a Flusterstorm. Target you, Michael. Do you have the answer? No.
No?
No,
No
no. Oh
answer.
my God.
Wow.
The recall is going to resolve. Michael.
Wait, there's a
Wait.
Flusterstorm?
Wait. There's a Flusterstorm. What happened?
I'm so confused.
He had Flusterstorm.
Or maybe he just wins because he showed Flusterstorm, but...
What just happened there? Was the Flusterstorm not cast? Or
Did he forget he had it in his hand?
did he forget he have 2 mana floating and the
float out?
land there?
Um,
Was that a premature scoop? What just happened?
I have no idea.
That
Wait, what?
Someone won the game.
I don't know what just happened.
Brian's
there,
gonna take the
actually.
win.
Don't look at me.
Yeah. The Flusterstorm was there.
That's what I thought we were playing towards this whole time.
Yeah.
So there was a Black Lotus, there was nothing floating. We cracked for an Ancestral, down to 0 cards, 2 blue mana floating, played an additional Sapphire, 3 blue mana total, have Oracle Fluster.